Hey people, so first things first, if you're wondering why I'm in this boxing training top, this is actually the very top I wore in my own fight 3 years ago. Amateur fight, uh, white collar boxing. So I just felt like dressing up in it again just to get that feel. I don't know if I'll ever go far in this sport at the age of 32, but that's that. Um, I watched Canelo versus Golovkin. Someone had uploaded a very good version, and I wanted to watch it before it had been taken down. Very high quality. I tried to watch it on a Facebook live stream last night, but the guy that uploaded it just kept talking throughout the thing, which kind of defeated the purpose. Okay, so firstly, that was one hell of a fight. I think it absolutely lived up to its hype in terms of the fight quality. One of the best fights I've seen in recent years, definitely. This has been a very good year, actually, for good fights, like action-packed fights. So contrary to what the cynics say, oh, boxing is dying, etc., I think we'll have to separate boxing politics from the quality of fights. And the quality of fights, I don't believe that there is a problem. I think there is a lot of great fighters out there who offer great action-packed fights. I mean, I can think of at least three big fights this year that I would argue all lived up to their hype. Klitschko versus Joshua, Mayweather versus McGregor, and now Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin. So I don't think the issue is in the quality of the fights, but rather the results and the boxing politics around it. And I have to say, I get a little bit tired of boxing pundits running down their own sport. I don't believe that boxing is in decline, and I think it's reckless to say that because that damages the sport. But I do think there's problems out there. Anyway, what this video is about is not to address all the issues within the sport of boxing, but about the controversy that resulted from this fight. It, of course, resulted in a draw, and the results were from judges Dave Moretti. Let me get this right: 115, 113 to Golovkin. Um, Judge Adelaide Bird 110, 118 to Canelo, and Judge Don Trella 114, 114, a draw. The controversy lies in Adelaide Bird's choice, and she's already been basically suspended. I suppose you could call it disciplined for that very controversial choice that pretty much no one, seems to agree with. Um, it's not the first time she's made a controversial decision. In the Joe Calzaghe Bernard Hopkins fight, she scored it for Hopkins when Calzaghe was generally seen to have won that fight, and they did indeed win on the scorecards. I mean, that's the result. He won the fight. But um, I'm always reluctant to criticize judges for the same reason I'm reluctant to criticize referees. I think they've got a very difficult job. Um, Having said that, a fight of this magnitude, a draw exists in boxing for a reason. It is one of the possible results. But I think at a fight of this scale, no one wants that result. So maybe a way around this would be to have some sort of situation where that isn't an option, where there has to be some sort of tiebreaker. That's easier said than done, but neither man looked enthusiastic about that. Both men had given their all. They were real warriors, and they showed why they are the absolute elites in this sport. At least two of the elites. They were throwing power punches at the end. I have to say, looking at it carefully, I give the slight edge to Golovkin. Now, I like both guys. It's not a case that I preferred one guy to win over the other. I'm fans of both guys, but I think Golovkin had the edge on the grounds that he was more consistently the aggressor. Um, Alvarez showed his toughness, he showed his tenacity, but he was more on the ropes, and I felt, was more consistently in a defensive posture. So I feel Gennady Golovkin had the edge, although certainly Canelo had several rounds. So I would have given it to Golovkin. But, of course, they both said there'll be a rematch. The issue here is that that's the instinctive reaction after a big fight like this, especially a 12 round action packed fight. The thing is to say there'll be a rematch. I think we should treat that with caution. Apparently, there's been rumors that Golovkin was going to make this his last fight. He hasn't made that formal. He's in his mid 30s now. I don't know how long he wants to continue. He certainly showed he has plenty of tenacity. He didn't look like an old man last night. Um, but if you look at some of the statistics on CompuBox, Golovkin landed more, and like I say, he was more consistently the aggressor. I would give it ever so slightly to Golovkin, but this was a very close fight, and I don't take anything away from Alvarez. He showed he's got incredible toughness, incredible durability. Well, both guys did. Um, as for this decision, well, I, I, for her to judge that 1-1-0, 1-1-8 is really quite something. And I wouldn't want a situation where she's being punished just to kind of please a populist viewpoint, but I don't see that, and I don't think anyone does. I don't know how she reached that conclusion, and it'd be interesting to see what she says in her defense. But the point is, she's been now stepped down from big events. So let me know your thoughts on that. If you watched the fight live, what did you make of it? I think Golovkin had the edge, and that's not taking anything away from Alvarez. It was very close, no question about that. And I think in some ways a draw is actually an acceptable result. Harold Lederman and Roy Jones Jr. said that. The problem is, in a fight of this scale, a championship, long anticipated fight, no one wants a draw as a result. So I think that's in large part why it's controversial. But like I say, a draw is one of the possible results. Otherwise, there'd be no point of having that as an option. Um, Good to see respect between these two guys. No animosity. They conducted themselves as the professionals that they are. Um, and that's something I think is very welcome. I can see Alvarez as the younger man. I can see him being around for years to come. He's already a veteran, but both incredible fighters. Final point, and this has sort of occurred to me. We recently had Mayweather versus McGregor, right? Boxing versus MMA. Here's an idea. Triple G versus Triple H. Boxing versus wrestling. Now, I know this is never going to happen. Triple H, obviously the professional wrestler, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, for anyone who's not familiar with WWE, he's one of the most prominent wrestlers of the last 20 years. Big guy. Very prominent in the wrestling business. Triple G versus Triple H. Think about it. I mean, it wouldn't happen, and there's obviously a size difference. It would be a bit of a joke, actually. It would be a bit like when Mayweather took on the Big Show. But, it's just one of those things. The three-letter initials, the three-letter initials. Yeah, so what do you think of that? Triple G versus Triple H, boxing versus wrestling. Okay, let me know your thoughts on this fight. I'm not going to speak much about a rematch because I think that we've learned to be cautious in terms of what can happen in the boxing world. Um, but I don't think this ruins boxing per se. I think it's an unfortunate result. But let's forget the result for a second, just focus on the fight itself. It was a great fight. So anyone who says boxing's in decline, it really irritates me when boxing pundits of all people. I can understand MMA fans saying that. I can understand outsiders saying that. But for boxing pundits, the people who are supposed to be advocating the sport, promoting the sport, for them to constantly run it down and say it's in decline, nonsense. This year's had many great fights. Um, and we've seen incredible fighting ability. So I really don't understand some of the cynicism that is out there. I do understand controversy, and I understand a lot of the problems in the sport, and I also have concerns about a lot of those issues. But it's not in decline. I really don't accept that. I mean, not when you have 90,000 people turning out to a heavyweight bout in London. Not when you have um, fights that are actually living up to their hype. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. I gave it once again. I gave the edge to Golovkin, but both men put on a wonderful performance. It was a great fight, one for the ages, and it's a pity about the result. But let us not let that detract from the quality of the fight, which was high caliber. Thanks for watching.